The United States government opened Oregon's first Indian boarding school in 1880. For 100 years, the Klamath, Modoc, and Yehuskan children were forced into boarding schools with the goal of assimilating Native Americans into mainstream society. The federal government forcefully took Indian children away from their families, tribes, and reservations in order to completely disconnect them from their culture and traditional ways of life. This led to generational trauma that can still be seen in Native communities today.
I was 8 years old. We drove on to Albany and we pulled up in front of this huge home, and my brother and I were both excited because they brought the suitcases out too, and they said, wow, maybe we're going to get to spend the night in this big house. Mom and Grandpa took us up, and one of the nuns took my hand and one of the nuns took my brother's hand, and Mom and Grandpa turned around, went down the stairs, never looked back, and my brother started crying and screaming, and down he went, said, shut up by the hair, and into the door. He was really emotional, and it took 3 or 4 slaps to shut him up and set him down, and that was a welcome to St. Mary's Academy in Albany, so it was traumatic to no end.
Upon arriving at the boarding schools, Native children had their hair cut, traditional clothing removed, and were punished for speaking their language or practicing their traditional ceremonies.
You spoke their language, they got in trouble, and there was this room. Well, actually, it was more like a closet that they put them in. She said it was just big enough for them to stand in. And they had to be in there hours on end without anything to eat, drink, restroom breaks, or anything until school felt they learned their lesson. And she told me, you don't want to learn that lesson, and it's better that you don't even learn our culture, because all it'll do is get you in trouble.
Our first grade teacher, Sister Grace, she was great. I loved her. 3rd and 4th grade teacher, Sister Veronica, she was a hitter. She pulled hair. She had a 12-inch ruler, the little metal thing on the end that she loved to hit you with. And I remember her slapping my brother in the face because he was a crier, and she slapped him. She broke his glasses. She pulled his hair, and all I could do was sit because you did not dare make a noise.
Once an Indian child was in boarding school, only the government could determine when they would be discharged.
It was just before Christmas, and nothing had changed, and Sister Felicitas was on my brother, slapping him, had him on his knees, praying and slapping him at the same time, and he got a bloody nose, and I lost it. I jumped on her back, and she went down like a ton. The nuns wanted them to take us to jail, and whoever was in charge of the policeman came up and said, you are to take these 12-year-old kids back, and they took us down and put us on a train, and we were gone.
Although Clay and his brother made it home, the number of children who never came home is staggering. Many endured routine physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. Some perished into unmarked graves, never to return home.
We're talking now about finding unmarked graves. They missed their children, and they were taken away forever. I don't know how a community recovers from that.
My brother never, ever recovered from that experience. He would not connect with an adult. He trusted no adults. And his feeling was that he was never loved, he was never wanted.
Survivors from boarding schools carried their trauma into adulthood as they became the aunts and the uncles, the parents and the grandparents. We call it salmoks to subsequent generations.
outcomes from boarding school experiences, and they affected me. I had to learn to hug my daughter and to be affectionate, and with my children now, they're 30 and 33, and every time I see them, I try to get as many hugs as I can, and so we're trying to make up in our family for a lot of the traumas that we've had.
Our strength and resilience has sustained our communities through this turbulent time. We are now learning from the experiences that our elders have endured. We are learning how truly strong our ancestors were and are. We weep for who and what we've lost, but we celebrate those who came home and found the will and determination to give back to their families, communities, and tribe.
Remember me, when the sun comes up in the morning sky, there I will be, soaring with the eagle so high, feeling free. Remember me, down the road, hand in hand, you and me. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. Hey, oh, hey. Hey, we are with it, oh. Hey, oh, hey. Hey, we are with it, oh. Hey, oh, hey. Hey, oh, hey. Hey, we are with it, oh, hi, oh, hey. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. Remember me, when the sun comes up in the morning sky, there I will be, soaring with the eagle so high, feeling free. Remember me.